Hello everyone, welcome to the Tarot with Titania reading of the week for May 31st to June 7th, 2024. Hard to believe it's the end of May. There we are. I invite you to close your eyes and take 3 nice deep breaths with me. And I invite you to imagine a tree root coming down out of the base of your spine, going down deep into Mother Earth, grounding you here and now in this present moment, as well as providing you with a conduit through which anything that no longer serves you can easily pass down into Mother Earth and become compost for your new good growth. Creator, this is your daughter Titania, and once again we are gathered to do this reading of the week for May 31st to June 7th, 2024. My intention is to be a clear channel for the information we most need to receive right now, and to provide this in a manner that we will easily and effortlessly hear, understand, and integrate for our personal and collective highest and greatest good. I call upon my higher self and the higher selves of all those listening now and in the future, as well as an overlighting angel of communication to be present and facilitate this exchange, ensuring that it happens in the highest and best way possible, and that we cover all that is in our personal and collective heart and mind at this time for this week of May 31st to June 7th, 2024, for our highest and greatest good and the good of this beautiful planet we call home. At this time, I'd like to invite the 4 archangels to come and hold the 4 directions around us, creating a sacred container of light, of love, of healing, of transformation, of upliftment and peace, holding all of us in a good way. I call upon Raphael to hold the east, Michael to hold the south, Gabriel to hold the west, and Uriel to hold the north. Thank you for coming. Anything that doesn't match these frequencies and intentions of love and light and the highest and greatest good is welcome to go now. All right, my friends, let's get into it. So, Creator, what is it that we most need to know this week so that we can bring our best to life, that we can be a source of joy, of clarity, of wisdom, of healing, of transformation, that we can have what it is that we need within ourselves to be that clean and clear and to have the direction and the empowerment that we require to be the best selves we want to be and bring that light to the world. So what do we need to know, Creator, for this week of May 31st to June 7th, 2024? Thank you. Oh, excuse me. All right, starting with the past, information from the past that is relevant now in our present and in the future. We have the Queen of Wands. Wands, creativity, inspiration, and passion, and the Queen being mastery, especially of the feminine aspect of this. So this is more about flow. It's about intuition. It's about feeling the way rather than planning the way from that feminine perspective, or more yin perspective. This is information that is important to our present and our future this week, coming at our lives from this felt intuitive flow, leaning into our intuition, leaning into our knowingness in terms of our generative potential, allowing our generative potential to be guided by our feminine information so that we can flow it in the best way possible. We can show up in the best way possible and be there to support each other in good ways. So this is information. We know we've done this. This is why it's sitting in our recent past or in our past. It's a way of being that we've tapped into, touched into, and it's time to pull it in now, in the present and into the future. And now the present card is the Prince of Swords. Princes are knights in other decks. They go rushing in and out. There's this very dynamic energy and quality to them. Swords is about ideas and action and taking action and changing our mind and new ideas. And the feeling I'm getting this week is it's dynamic new ideas, real new information that changes our course, changes our direction, and allows us to charge onwards into not only our own life, but into the collective field of life with new information, new inspiration that allows us to be far more empowered and directed and motion forward, energized. This is the energy in the present this week. So this is going to mean, as I said, changes in the levels of ideas and action. So quite dynamic energy. So expect that this week. And letting ourselves being guided by this sort of feminine, generative, intuitive potential will help us redirect our energy in good ways. And then the near future card for this week, we have the defeat card. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that this figure is not curled up on a ball on the ground, defeated. They're standing on a white rose of purified desire, facing the adversity, almost challenging it. It's almost defiant, the sort of gesture that's there. There's this quality of some things are going, some things perhaps are being defeated. But what isn't being defeated is our heart, is our intention, is our desire, is our longing for what is good and what is coming for the collective good in humanity. With each new adversity, there's a rising up or a concretizing, a clarifying, an empowering quality. It may not be easy to see it in the moment when we get that news or we get that information that makes us feel like, oh, perhaps it's hopeless. But allowing that information rather to rally around us and help us to re-clarify, reconfirm, and allowing us to rededicate ourselves to what is important, to what is clean and clear. And again, calling our attention back to this white rose of purified desire. As we go through life and we have these intense experiences, we get clearer and clearer about what is important. And that purifies our desire. We transcend the more animal nature and we become clearer and more, I'm not talking about abandoning the body, but I am talking about reaching and striving for the higher aspects of who we are and what we are about in this life. And so staying in this energy of what we know to be true, personally, because collectively there are things we know to be true. We need to have kindness and compassion to co-create a more beautiful world. We need to be more intentional. We need to be more conscious. We need to be holding more light and love in our field. Those are certainties. And if we can come back to those in the face of the adversity of life and say, okay, things are a little strange right now and things are going a little bit weird. If I'm listening to the mainstream news, that's certainly how I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel disempowered and I'm going to feel frustrated and worried and concerned and stressed. But then with the breath, come back to the self. Come back to the awareness of what is true. That humanity inherently is good. Humanity is inherently striving for what is good and to be the best that they can be, especially when given the right opportunities. And I'm not saying that everyone is doing that at this time, because certainly the conditions that collectively have been created or have been created by a certain segment of the population are not supportive of individuals striving for their best. When there's strife, we're wasting our energy fighting each other rather than focusing on what is important. So this card is reminding us that when we get into those states of adversity, or we get into those states of it appears hopeless, what do we know is true? We know our own goodness. We know our own inherent worth. We know our own inherent passion, our purified desire, our yes. That's clear. Focus on that. We know that humanity is evolving and rising and becoming more and striving inherently, and that a small segment of the population is all it's needed to change the collective field. A group of intentional, conscious individuals is all that's needed to shift the field. And we know people are shifting. We're seeing it. There's conversations that never would have happened 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. People are changing. There is a desire for something more, a purified desire for a more beautiful world. Pivot towards that. Give that your attention. Look for evidence of that. Because what we give our attention to is what is going to grow. So what story do we want to nourish? If you're still watching the news, I heartily encourage you to diminish your intake of that information. Think of it as a narrative, a storyline that's being fed to you. And if you're creating from the space that it generates, which is usually, as I said at the beginning, it's fearful, it's fear-based. There's a lot of fear-based stuff in our culture. If that's where it's leaving you, and then you're creating from that place, it doesn't feel very good, because that's not what we want to be creating. So just notice what you're choosing to engage with, and how does it leave you feeling? That's your information. That's your takeaway. If you're not feeling good about what you're giving your energy and your attention to, it's time to take a deep breath. Come back to the broader, wiser part of you. Come back to the body, the compass, and say to yourself, why is this not feeling good? Usually, that not feeling goodness is an indication that you've wavered from your path of good intention, that you've stepped off and you're nourishing something that you really, from a higher, wiser, broader perspective, don't want to be giving your energy and attention to and making grow with that energy. It's really very important at this time to be mindful of what we're looking at. Okay, let's move on. The foundation card for this week is the Sun. It's why we're having this reading. The higher octave of the Sun is evolution. We are in an evolutionary process. We are growing and changing and becoming more. The Sun is at the heart of our solar system. It is the source of light and energy. It is a source of information. There's tremendous packets of it coming to Earth in solar waves and flares. And just remembering this is in service to our evolution. So, yes, things might seem to be coming unhinged in some ways, but in other ways, life is transforming quickly. People are changing. They're moving towards their yes like never before. They're striving to be the better version of themselves. They're striving for the good of the collective. We're in the energy of Aquarius, which is all about the collective. It's that very feminine front of energy that is rising at this time, about co-creating, about seeing and affirming and evoking the best, about how do we move forward together. We know that war is futile and pointless and destructive. And there are certain structures or, I'll just call them structures, that are thriving on that energy. But what we want to do is starve them, is take our energy out of those places and nourish the good, nourish what we want to see with our attention, with our energy, with our focus. This, as I said, it's crucial. It's very, very important if we're going to evolve, and we are evolving whether we want to or not. If we're going to do this well and with intention, the more mindful and conscious about where we are putting our focus and our energy in every moment is critical, so that we can grow the good. We can build this quite intentionally and quite rapidly, I would add. It all comes down to us and our choices. So, following the intuition, following the heart, following that generative potential, we can create magnificently. Humanity always rises when there is a challenge, and we're being challenged right now. That contrast is helping us to clarify what we prefer. So as individuals and as a collective, we are choosing something different. And that transformation is going to happen very quickly. It is happening very quickly. We're in the midst of it right now, and we need to stay focused on what we want, so that we can pull it forward more quickly, so that we can harness this dynamic energy and redirect it in ways that we want. Think about a raging river and how you need to, if you're going to capture that energy, you need to direct it somewhere. You need to have somewhere for it to go. So just thinking about that, thinking about your energy and your attention as the life force of the energy of life coming through you, God force, whatever you want to call it. You have life coming out through you? Where do you want that life to go? Are you going to add to more life? Is it life-giving what you're choosing, give your attention to, or is it diminishing life? It's a very simple question. Is what I'm focused on bringing more life, or is it diminishing life? And if it's diminishing life, take a pause, take a breath, and rethink it. Rethink. Where could I be putting my energy in a more resilient, resourceful, and supportive direction? So it's all about this evolution this week. It's all about where are we going? How are we going that way? Are we doing it with intention, with mindfulness? Are we choosing to line up with the energies of this time so we're not beat up as we're carried along by the river of life, which is moving very quickly at this time. When we flow with it, things go more easily. When we resist it, we get beat up pretty good. It's a very strong current to swim against, and there are a lot of obstacles in the river. So just be aware of that. Flow. It's about the feminine. It's about flow. It's about the generative potential. It's about what is life-giving. It's about where is the beauty. It's about how do I add to the beauty? How do I add to the order? How do I add to the harmony? How do I add to my satisfaction, well-being, and goodness? Because when we're in that positive state, we talked about this last week, when we can hold those positive frequencies and vibrations, we are adding unto the collective framework of life in a good way. So, very interesting. This reminder that we are an essential part of the evolutionary process of humanity and of this planet. And as beings that are coming into greater levels of consciousness, we need to be way more deliberate about what we're doing with our energy, our focus, our attention, so that we can be adding to the good rather than diminishing it and essentially disempowering ourselves or hamstringing ourselves by giving our attention to things that have no relevance, first of all, to our lives, and that are not supporting the dream and the vision of the future that we want to see. So I hope this is helpful. It's just a good reminder to stay focused on our good, to stay focused on our generative potential, on what our yes is, because everything that we want is in our yes. It wouldn't be attractive to us otherwise. That shiny field of yesness and moving towards it in ways that honor ourselves, that are harmonious with ourselves. There are, of course, ways of following it, the yes, I suppose, in a destructive way if you have addictions, but it's about a higher octave than that. This is about choosing a loftier energy and striving for that loftier energy. And as a result of that, we add our goodness and our forward momentum to the field of life in good ways, in optimal ways. Let's get on to the card to grow on this week. Okay, Creator, what is it that we need to know this week, please? What is the summary card for this reading? So that we can move forward with grace and ease and love, adding our momentum and our energy in good ways to those of others in the collective human field for our good and the good of humanity and the good of this planet, our home, our mother. What do we need to take with us this week? What awareness would serve us best? Please. So the legacy card, protection, is one way of looking at it, but the legacy, as I see it, this card, we have the purified desire once again in the upper corners. We have these two people in costumes and this castle structure, sort of this idea of that which came before, that's been nurtured and fostered by generations that have come before us, and it's our turn. It's our turn to do it well. It's our turn to take care of the resources and this planet and each other, and to foster the good for future children, for future generations. And we do really need to think about future generations at this time, because right now there's a lot of stuff that's happening that's kicking the can down the road from an economic perspective as well as an environmental perspective. And how do we live in right relationship to this planet? How do we live in right relationship to the earth so that we're adding unto her, that we are improving our experience on the planet and leaving her cleaner and clearer and stronger and healthier. If we were to rejig our cultural values towards this, to understanding how sacred the earth is, how sacred the waters are, how sacred the air is, and stop our polluting of these aspects, personally and collectively. If we were to just say, okay, I'm sending love to the waters, I'm sending love to the air, I'm sending love to the earth, I'm making different choices in how I'm doing my own life, so that we understand that we're all connected and we're operating from that understanding of connection, that comprehension that we are part of life and we are adding our energy unto it through our choices and our decisions. We're not separate from it. So how do we do this well? How do we be humans on this earth well? How do we take care of this planet better? How do we use our energy and our attention and our resources better so that we're not burdening the earth with more challenges? Humanity for a very long time has been operating in a way that is using the earth without regard for the life there, for the consciousness there, for the awareness there. And that's something that we can learn from various cultures on the planet, this return to understanding our connection to the earth and rethinking how we're doing things. And so this card to grow on this week is this understanding that, our evolution is essential for this piece too. The evolution that we're in the midst of is essential for this legacy. As we rise and become more of who we need to be, as we line up with our yes, as we line up with our connection to source energy and respect this planet and each other and come at life from that different frequency of energy, the legacy that we are leaving, that we are building for the future generations is powerful. And so giving that attention, giving that energy, and I know that these are big, lofty sort of pictures that I've been spinning here, but when we bring it back to our own individual lives and we listen into our yes, we know little changes that we can make that will be different. And it's not perfect, of course. We live in a pretty dysfunctional and toxic culture sometimes, but doing our best and bringing our best life force energy to it makes a difference. So what is, our piece of the legacy? How can we add to the good? And the biggest thing that we can do is lining up with life force energy, lining up with the yes, lining up with striving to become more that we can be, than we've been, and adding this unto all life just simply by being. We don't have to do anything extraordinary, truly. Then rise in our own lives, rise to our yes, and be all that. And share that in the world. And make our different choices and take our different actions. It's pretty bright, the light in here today, but yeah, it's a wonderful card. Getting us to think about the future. How are we being, and how is that in service to more light in the future? And with that, I invite you to take a nice deep breath with me. Close your eyes. Letting it go. Creator, this is your daughter Titania. Thank you once again for this opportunity to do this reading of the week. I ask that it be in service to our greatest good, that it help us to rise as individuals, to understand our place in this world at this time, to step into our power, to step into our greater awareness and consciousness, to step into our ability to make better choices, not only for ourselves, but for the communities and the world of which we are a part, understanding that our personal choices do affect the collective field. And so it's important for us to make good choices on an individual level. I'm grateful for each and every individual who's on these calls, who is open and taking the journey and willing to grow and become more and to bring their best to life in service to more life. And I just ask for continued support and help as we navigate these times, finding our footing, finding our strength, our resilience, finding our wisdom, finding our knowingness, so that we can adjust and adapt and hold space for the brilliant new earth, new world that we all know is in our hearts and minds, and that we're longing for and striving for, and that we're bringing about through our actions and choices. I want to thank all those who help to hold the space every week, archangels, guardians, guides, ancestors, all those who came before and all those who are yet to come. Thank you for being here and holding us in magnificent ways and helping us to do our good work. And I want to thank you for being here as well, and for your good work, and for your continued commitment to rising and shining and being all that you can be, and simply being here on this planet, navigating the world at this very intense and expansive time. I will look forward to seeing you again next week. In the meantime, much love and light. Take good care, and bye for now.